kunja bihari gopijana vallabha girivaradhari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari.
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 Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya,
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Shri Pad, Shri Pad, Shri Pad, Srila Shri Pad, Jaya
Jaya
Jaya,
Jaya Shripad, 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 Srila Shripad.
Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura.
Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gauranga Premanande Hari 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 Bol. Bolo Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Nitai Gauranga Bhagavan, Jai Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Welcome everyone in this wonderful transcendental program of Bhagavad Dharma, part of which is the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 7, Chapter 4, and text number 39. This is the glorification of Prahlad Maharaj. The paradox described that the demoniac father, and he got this most wonderful son. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisthiki. Today's shloka. Kvachit Rudati Vaikuntha Chintasha Balachetana. Kvachit Rudati Vaikuntha Chintasha Balachetana. Kvachit Dasati Tat Chinta Lad Udgayati. Kvachit. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly. This is Prahlad Maharaj. No? So, purport or responsible, please. Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness.
He sometimes cried.
He sometimes cried.
Sometimes laughed.
Sometimes laughed.
Sometimes expressed jubilation.
Sometimes expressed jubilation.
And sometimes sang loudly.
And sometimes sang loudly.
Purport. This verse further clarifies the comparison of a devotee to a child. If a mother leaves her small child in his bed or cradle and goes away to attend to some family duties, the child immediately understands that his mother has gone away, and therefore he cries. But as soon as the mother returns and cares for the child laughs and becomes jubilant. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, being always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, sometimes felt separation, thinking, where is Krishna? This is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me. When an exalted devotee feels that, Krishna is invisible. When an exalted devotee feels that Krishna is invisible, having gone away, he cries in separation. And sometimes when he sees that Krishna has returned to care for him, he laughs, just as a child sometimes laughs upon understanding that his mother is taking care of him. These symptoms are called bhava. In the nectar of devotion, various bhavas, ecstatic conditions of a devotee, are fully described. These bhavas are visible in the activities of a perfect devotee. Om Adhyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swarupa Damodar Swami Niti Namine Namasad Bhaktamanaye Manipurudbhavaya Cha Srila Prabhupada Sadvani Prachara Niratayate Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Nam Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So this is the transcendental ecstatic demeanor of Prahlad Maharaj because of his absolute dependence on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he's totally dependent, this is called his utter fearlessness, complete fearlessness. And when there is no fear of any sort, then the jubilation starts manifesting in the whole system, in the antakaran, and then that reflects on the body and also his activities. And so this is basically the attachment, deep attachment of the Lord, incessant attachment to the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada gives a wonderful analogy of a dependence of a little child, total nonchalant, totally dependent on the mother, and he knows how to call for her, how to get her by crying out. So this basically, so this crying out and laughing, although they appear different, but they are of the same transcendental nature because of the incessant absorption of the devotee in the thought of Krishna. So sometimes feeling the separation, he cries out, and when he thinks that the Lord is around him, and he feels and the jubilation. So all these wonderful things, these are the symptoms of a person who has at least attained this bhava bhakti, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes in Sishtastikam, especially this 5th and 6th sloka of Sishtastikam. They relate to the bhava. Ai nanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam badho kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrisham vijintaya. So it's a hankering to be accepted by the Lord, because of the tremendous obsession for him. And how this obsession comes about, of course, is one takes shelter of the sadhana bhakti, path of devotion service, taking shelter of the spiritual master under his guidance as he dedicates one's life, and if he remains very, very determined to attain the platform of love, then he stays free from offenses. Offenses are the only thing which blocks our progress, or what is the word, which slows down our. And that's why in the sadhana bhakti, in the beginning stage, one has to be very, very careful. That's why rules and regulations and 10 offenses and all these things are very wonderfully given. But ultimately, Rupa Goswami describes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that the real bhakti is bhava bhakti, because that is the swarup of bhakti. The swarup of bhakti, the nature of bhakti is in sentiment. And what is the resting place of bhakti? The consciousness. So when one becomes conscious of Krishna in such loving attachment, and one is ready, one offers oneself completely. Ekantiki. Then there is no other aspiration for any worldly aspirations, worldly for sense gratification, or even for liberation, or even for attaining any siddhis. Total dependence, total attraction towards the Lord. So the very life force only just hankering for the love of Krishna. So when this kind of absorption of the chitta, as we discussed a few times, this bhakti or this asakti, asakti is the beginning of bhava bhakti. It's the opening of the door of, and the longest distance on this sadhana bhakti is from ruchi to asakti. Just see this sequence. Shraddha is mind deep. We receive many things, and as we associate, we develop faith. But when intelligence is involved, Shraddha becomes nishtha. So nishtha is described buddhi deep. And when our personal insistence is involved, then when ego is involved, then it becomes ruchi. That's why whatever we put in our routine, on our own, not by force, but we involve ourselves. When our insistence is involved on our own, then it is ruchi. But still, ruchi is not sufficient. The most critical stage on this path of pure devotional service, the critical point is the asakti. And they describe there is the longest distance from ruchi to asakti, because asakti is not so easy. One has to beg for asakti. One has to really beg Krishna. Charana smarnam premna tava deva sudurlabham. Yatha kathanchit nri hari. Yatha kathanchit Sri Gaur Hari. Whosoever is one's East, we call out to the East. Yatha kathanchit Sri Gaur Hari, yatha kathanchit Sri Radha Krishna. Mama bhuyat ahar nisham. You do so. Oh Lord, please do something. Yatha kathanchit. Somehow or other, make it happen that day and night I think so lovingly about your Lord's feet. So this has to be begged. Ruchi is up to our up to sadhaka. He can develop ruchi as when we use our intelligence, and also good scruples due to satsang, due to coming in touch with the Mahaprabhu, Sri Guru. When we voluntarily accept the things which are required to be done, anukulasya sankalpa, pratikulasya bhajan, and be very deliberately also do away with the things which are unwanted. This is part of the sadhana bhakti. But this Ekantiki Bhakti means this asakti, very, very difficult. Even it is described, it is in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Rudra Gita especially, very, very interesting, where it says that tam duraradhyam aradhya, means this loving attachment, devotional service with loving attachment, it is so difficult. Tam duraradhya aradhyam satam api durapaya. Satam. Satam means every transcendentalist is called satam. But even for transcendentalists, the aspiration could be different. Many transcendentalists, they want to attain some perfection. in this material world. Some people want liberation from this material entanglement. Some people may aspire for many siddhis, So all these satam, but because they are very disciplined, they control their senses and all these things. That's why they are considered satam, good people, not so much controlled by kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mad, matsarya. So satam means those who have self-control for some higher purpose. But it is said even for the satam, it is very, very difficult. So that's why when we join this path of pure devotional service, we must appreciate our utter fortune, great fortune. So when we follow this path of pure devotional service, we must be able to do away with any aspiration of attaining some greater position or greater gratification in this world or in the next world, or liberation or any achievement of some powers. So this Ekantiki Bhakti, which Prahlad Maharaj exemplifies, and his position to describe his transcendental fervor in Srimad Bhagavatam, we discussed few times ago the most mysterious shloka for perfecting this Bhagavad culture. In 11th canto, 2nd chapter, text number 37. It's very, very amazing. After that sequence where the definition of bhaya is described, how to get over this bhaya that sloka describes, that one has to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Sri Guru, making him as the most dear and worshipable. It's amazing. Because we don't have any direct experience of worshipping Krishna. Even in the worshipping in the form of the deity, it is just the arrangement, so that because in our conditioned state, we, even with our this material body, which is described as filthy and all this is thing, but as practice given, but the person when the spiritual master is worshipped as Guru Devatatma, is the most worshipable and most dear. That is that concept that is not different from worshipping Krishna. Rather, it gives one the realization what it is like to worship Krishna, making him most dear, as we imagine, correct? Most dear and most worshipable. So in that sequence, if one studies that shloka, then that is after 2-3 shloka, it gives a sequence how when a person having taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how one takes shelter, taking shelter of his representative, and as he becomes fully dependent on the full protection of the Lord. Although the things happen in this material world, things happen to everybody. Everybody gets old, everybody gets disease, but because he is totally dependent on the Lord, and he's totally unperturbed by the onslaught, apparent impositions of the 3 modes of material nature. He's not influenced. Because the duality, as we perceive, ultimately does not exist. Duality exists because of the corruption of the mind, or the separation of the mind from the thought of Krishna. That's what duality is, if everything is perceived. So one who is absolutely absorbed in the thought of Krishna, where is the separation from Krishna in anything? Everything, when he opens the eyes, everything reminds him of Krishna. Everything he hears reminds him of Krishna. Everything he smells reminds him of Krishna. Because Krishna is filled with unlimited variegatedness. Krishna has unlimited avenues to get connected to. So pure devotee, under all circumstances, under all time and space, is absorbed in the thought of Krishna. And that causes his total fearlessness, and that's where the famous shloka of this bhava along the line, Evam vrata sva priya naam kirtya jata anuraga duta chitta uchchai Hasatyatho rauditi rauti gayati unmadavanityati lokabhaya. Unmadavat, not caring about what other people will think, that's the idea. Chanting the holy name of one's own liking, namna makari baudha nija sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smarnena kala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam idrisham ihajani nanurag. So Krishna is unlimited his names to attract different people. Krishna different names to describe according to his different pastimes, and so different devotees have different attraction for different pastimes, correct? So whichever name of Krishna one can choose, and so then he's totally fixed in his vow as the eternal servant of the Lord. So Ekantiki Bhakti, how much freedom he has, one can imagine, because he has nothing to lose, correct? He's fully surrendered, everything to gain. When we have something to lose, we have fear. Make sense? So that's the position of a pure devotee in ecstasy. Evam vratasva priyanam kritya jatanu raga drutta chitta ucche. Hasatyatho, laughing, rauditi, crying, rauti, lamenting, gayati, singing, unmadavat, like a mad person, unmadavat, nityati, dancing, lokabahye, not caring about the external situation. So shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virhenam. On the other hand, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, describes in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, if we think of the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while chanting the holy name of the Lord. And what was his mood? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would chant this holy name, it's like a lot of transformation, or what do you call, viplav, lot of it's overwhelming experience. That's the point, Dharite dharite nari. Mahaprabhu says, dhairya dharite nari. I'm not able to hold on to no patience. He becomes overwhelmed. Hailama unmatta. Hasi kandi nachi gai yaiche madamatta. So this is the position of Mahaprabhu acting as a sadhaka. This is the influence of pure chanting in his demeanor. So feeling the ecstasy, he is losing himself, and that's why he laughs and cries and all these things. So this is the position Mahaprabhu is demonstrating. So when this with madness transpired his whole existence, then he was wondering, sometimes, okay, what is happening to me? Means I have become totally useless in a sense. Means constantly his mouth cannot stop chanting, and his expression, everything. So he was little worried that what has happened to me. So he went to his spiritual master. We know the famous story, and say, "Oh my Lord, what kind of mantra you have given me? This is made me mad. So is anything wrong with it?" Then Ishwar Puriji, he became so ecstatic. He knew the identity of Mahaprabhu, but when Mahaprabhu accepted him as a spiritual master, and when this thing happened, the magic of chanting the holy name, which overwhelmed Mahaprabhu emotionally, this is exactly what happened. Then Ishwara Puri felt the most blessed. Everybody must aspire this thing. Such condition transpires all of us. This is a desire So these things, in true ecstasy, these symptoms are spontaneously manifesting in the body of pure devotees. And sometimes, naturally, those who, most of us in the Western world, also in this, in India also, we didn't experience involving ourselves in chanting with ecstasy and jumping and like this. So for the new people, this is very, very astonishing that how this is possible. Of course, as we partake in this path of pure devotional service and the prominence of chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, so this chanting, one can chant for hours and hours, sing hours and hours. This happens. It is not that somebody is forcing oneself. The ecstasy of the holy name is real. That's the point. But how it becomes constant, that is the key. You know, how to become attached to it, that we feel no boredom. Oftentimes, I hear sadhakas and wherever we visit, that people take this sadhana bhakti, chant 16 rounds, 2 hours for Bhagavatam study, 2 hours here and there, and still they have lots of time. They don't know how to pass. They feel boredom, But if they are asked to chant more than 16, it would be really struggle, because the ruchi is just limited. So asakti means unlimited ruchi. That's why ruchi is not enough. We must we must acquire, we must beg, we must crave, we must aspire to this platform of asakti, which is very difficult. So Prahlad Maharaj is in that ecstatic mood. And when one becomes totally dependent, fully dependent, then his incessant remembrance, loving remembrance and he becomes like a child. The child is fully dependent, exclusively dependent on the mother, correct? So the pure devotee also becomes exclusively dependent on Krishna, and Krishna being all powerful, he has absolute conviction that he will take care of him under any circumstances, apparently. So it is a science of consciousness. The pure devotion resides in the consciousness, so that the duality of apparent and real, they disappear. For a pure devotee, the whole existence, Vishwam Purnam Sukhayate, Vidhi Mahindradishcha Kritayate, Yat Karunya Kataksha Vaibhavatam Tam Gaurastumavim. Prabodhananda Saraswati describes that for a surrendered soul, Vishwam Purnam Sukhayate. And he doesn't have any hankering, any like a fascination or any distractions, temptation for any high positions or for the swargas or anything. What is that shloka? Kaivalyam Narkayati. For him, the Kaivalya, the impersonal liberation, Kaivalyam Narkayati is Narkayati means worse than going to hell. Kaivalyam Narkayati, Tridashapur, Akasha Puspayati. Tridashapur means the heavenly planets. Akasha Puspayati, they are just imaginary. Because he has nothing to do with all these ideas of heaven and all these things, because of his absolute dependence on the Supreme Lord. Yat Karunya Kataksha, the one who has received the merciful glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for him, Vishwam Purnam Sukhayati. So when everything appears blissful, then these symptoms become manifest. Correct? But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes that many times the people just out of the sahajiya or out of sentimentalism, thinking that they are Krishna, or they are the associates of Krishna, and they just make such a sentiments to attract cheap adoration from the people, but that is not doing them any good. But the main symptoms on the bhava stage, even when the external symptoms are not many devotees, because they are very gambhir, very sober, and very they don't like to make a show. But this Bhava Bhakti, the symptoms are described in Bhakti Sama Sindhu, 9 symptoms. Kshantir Abhyartha Kalatvam. Kshantir means even when there is an occasion to become miserable, occasion to feel devastated, correct? Somebody dies, somebody becomes deprived, or something is lost, some so-called bad news. Even then, he keeps the equilibrium. People are always in hope of getting something positive, if they apply for something, anything in the world, apply for the loan, apply for something, apply for visa or whatever, they have great expectation from God. Okay, God, we have served you, so you better, this is how they see the confirmation of God's mercy, Krishna's mercy. If they get sanctioned, if they get what they have tried for. But a pure devotee, he is totally, he doesn't see duality under jivane marane gati aaya nahi more. This is the pure stage. He's not averse to dying if it is meant for Krishna, and he is not in favor of living if it is not for Krishna. So the duality, which is only the creation of a conditioned mind, conditioned soul. The pure devotee, mind is not subject to the duality of this world, because duality, as we described, duality causes the fear. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshatasha. So the whole idea is that when a person becomes ekantik or absorbed exclusively in relation to Krishna, then these symptoms which we describe, Kshantir Avyartha Kalatvam, he has no time to waste. Kshantir Avyartha Kalatvam Viraktir, he has a detachment from anything which has nothing to do with Krishna. Virakti Mana Shunyata, he doesn't hanker for position or respect or honor. Asha Bandha, Asha Bandha means he has absolute faith that Krishna will he will attain the association or the darshan of Krishna, because Asha Bandha, this hope, undying hope. Although this undying hope, Rupa Goswami describes it, because yes, Krishna will definitely show his mercy, but when he will do it, when that day will be mine. So that hope is giving pain, because devotee, that's why here the crying happens, because he's absolutely convinced that Krishna will come, just like the child is absolutely convinced that mother will come, but as long as mother doesn't come, he cries, right? So Asha Bandha Samot Kantha Nam Gane Sada Ruchi. Asakti Stad Guna Khyane, very attached to describing the glories of the Supreme Lord. Asakti Stad Guna Khyane Priti Stad Vasati Sthale, and he's very attached to living in the places which are connected to Krishna, Vrindavan, all these different pastimes. So these 9 symptoms is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and the Bhava stage, that is called Jata Rati, when the first glimpse or the first spark or first ray of Bhava is sprouted in the heart, the wonderful things happen. So at that stage, similarly in Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are 4 symptoms described about the position which Prahlad Maharaj is in. What happens? Total, what you say, indifferent to dharma, indifferent to worldly duties. However, based on the Vedas, when we say dharma, dharma means dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The things, codes of conduct at different level, different stages of our life, varna and ashram, dharma, all these things which are sanctioned. Because in the conditioned state, one is subjected to many rules and regulations, so that his proclivity doesn't become unbridled like an animal. Just to curtail this animalistic, unbridled, uchrinkal, swachhand proclivity, naturally the symptom of a human being, because he wants to become progressive. So when he is educated that by taking shelter of dharma, he can find the fulfillment of all his worldly desires and everything. So this arrangement is made in the Vedas, but the ultimate purpose of dharma is, and all this arrangement is to free him from this sense gratification. Why the regulation given for sense gratification? Because sense gratification is creating duality. It is creating separate interest from Krishna. Krishna is the primary enjoyer, and when we participate in his making him the primary enjoyer, then as prasad, we can feel the fulfillment. Yayatma samprasidati. So that is possible in the process of pure devotional service. But when a person comes on the bhava stage, which Prahlad Maharaj is describing, the 4 symptoms. First is indifferent to dharma. In Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, both places Krishna describes this. To Uddhav ji say, Agya eva gunan doshan maya dishtan api swakan dharmam samstajya yeh sarvan mam bhaje satya satyam. Now this is very, very interesting injunction. The Lord saying, Agya eva gunan doshan, a person who is well versed in the dharma, that when one follows dharma, then it is guna. It's a good to follow the codes of conduct described in the Vedas, because those are given by the Supreme Lord. Gunan, doshan, and if one does not follow the rules of dharma, then one gets defamed. One is not glorified. If one follows dharma, he is glorified. So they are like good. Guna. Guna means good qualities, positive side. If one ignores, then he's defamed. But considering both these things, agya eva matlab knowing this well, following the dharma, one gets a glorious position in the family, in the society, and all around. People glorify a dharmic person, correct? But if somebody ignores his duties, then he is defamed, correct? He's decried, is where you see. Maya dishtan api swakat. Krishna says, although they are given by me only, dharmas are given by me only. But dharma sanstajya yes sarvan. But a person who dares or who yes sarvan mam bhajet satya satyam, putting aside all his worldly obligations, and if he exclusively worship Krishna, then Krishna says he's the best. So basically what Krishna is trying to say, that an intelligent person, by the effect of satsang or the association of Mahaprabhu, who is exclusively devoted to Krishna, he sees that all these worldly duties and within the karma kand and within the gyan kand, upasana kand, all this within dharma, they cause a disturbance. They deviates or they distracts the exclusive attention on Krishna. So considering, Krishna says, those who consider this, all these worldly duties, attachment, they cause a disturbance. They cause division of the incessant devotional fervor. Just by exclusively worshipping Krishna, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krit Hoy, Sarva Siddhi, all the things will be attained. This platform of conviction. Bhagavatam, various places describe. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad brahmatam uparyadha. Tyaktva swadharmam charnam gujam harer bhajanna pakvotha patit tato yati yat yatrekvava bhadra abhud amushyakim kovalt apto abhajitam swakarm sadharmata. So same principle, that for the sake of exclusive worship of Krishna, if one gives up tyaktva swadharmam charnam gujam, tyaktva swadharmam, all his dharma. Swadharma means all this varnashram dharma. If one exclusively takes shelter of Krishna, for the male bodies taking sannyas, It becomes very glorious. Tyaktva swadharmam charnam bhujam harir bhajanna pakvot patit tatir. Even if he does not perfect his life in this lifetime, there is no loss, because at least he tried to become fully surrendered to Krishna. But on the other hand, bhajanna pakvad yatrekva bhadram abhudamushakim kovarth apto abhajatam swadharmatam. But he, one who does not worship Krishna and just engage his whole life just in fulfilling his worldly duties, very dharmic, what is his gain? So the clear understanding. That's where Krishna says, the sarva dharman paritaja mamekam sharanam braja. Because exclusively becoming surrendered to Krishna is the only dharma, basically. That's why Krishna says all other dharmas are upadharma. So varnasam dharma is also upadharma. But those who are not eligible, those who are not so blessed as yet to take exclusive surrender to Krishna, for them something has to be there. So when we come on this path of pure devotional service, we must appreciate this fact that we have this opportunity to become exclusively surrendered, to take exclusive shelter of Krishna. This is our prerogative. If we still consider, other duties and this only duty something, then the duality will remain. We will think, yes, that is also necessary, that is also necessary. No. But Krishna says, Mamekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papi vimokshishyami mashuche. Don't worry. So, one who does not worry, like Arjuna now, Prahlad Maharaj, don't worry. He doesn't worry. Then he can, so freely he can dance and cry and everything. So everything he does is in total absorption of Krishna, either in separation or in meeting and otherwise, something like that. So in the same way, the devotee on that platform is not involved totally, like in Bhagavatam, Krishna describes that Nirpeksho Mune Shantam Nirvairam Samadarshanam Aham Brajami Anubrajami Aham Nityam Pujayeti Angru Renubhi. So Krishna becomes his follower. Krishna becomes a follower of his pure devotee, because the fragrance which comes, which flows from the heart of pure devotee due to his devotional fervor in the heart, just all these ecstasies in crying and laughing and all these things. He's feeling so much joy, feeling in a devotional mood to attain the service and the audience of the Lord. And Krishna loves this. He's a desperation to see him. And this is how Krishna appreciates that they are not involved in any karma or jnana or anything. They are totally quiet, equipoised, no attachment to anything in this world. In the material world, we become attached because of the misidentification. First, the misidentification of our identity is this perishable body. That's why this perishable body identification has to be, it can be given up if we have the replacement. That's why we must emphasize on this path of pure devotional service. If we contemplate, if we think that we are not this body, but body is the only thing, only object of our tremendous incessant attachment. So that means we are not this body, but we are the soul. Soul means the person, and person has a body. So we have to think, we must come, bring in our contemplation about our soul body. So that is the aspiration, to attain the association of Krishna, to attain the service of Krishna. And for the possibility to deal with Krishna, we have to become blessed with the eternal body. It is not that you are not this body, you are the soul. It may not be a very, very great proposal for those who are very attached to their body. They want to make their body very powerful, heavenly body, and all this wonderful body. So, but they fall short of the standard of the need of the soul. All these bodies, That's why we must aspire on this path we must aspire, we must contemplate, we must explore this possibility of attaining the eternal body, Siddha Deha. Guru Maharaj sings that song, Nij Siddha Deha, Nij Siddha Nama, Nij Rupa Svachana. So all these things given for our path. So Prahlad Maharaj is in his situation, but our potential means the exposure of the supreme fortune, which is exposed to us because of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu has given us this bhava. Our bhava must develop to attain the service, attain the shelter at the divine lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. That is the ultimate sopan of Krishna prema. Why? Because Radharani loves Krishna the most. So Krishna belongs to Radharani. So why should we try to get to Krishna? Because it's very difficult, because if somebody has become somebody's property, it's very difficult to get him there. So that's why our path of bhava is to develop attachment to attain the shelter of Srimati Radharani and appreciate the love of the gopis for Krishna, and indispensability of attaining, taking shelter of Radharani's lotus feet. So that bhava has to be cultivated, and so this so in that stage, what happens that one's attachment for Krishna does not become less, even if the adverse situations take place. This is the third one. I think time is up, isn't it? Yes, sir. And so these symptoms which we see in Prahlad Maharaj, they are the effect of this transcendental position, because of having absolute shelter of Krishna, and he doesn't see anything in duality, so there is no fear, and he is in ecstasy. And so love becomes the only controlling factor in the life of a pure devotee, and all these symptoms become manifest. So thank you very much. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Samavit Gaur Bhakti ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Please, thank you very much for your kindness and patiently giving your time. Any comment, if someone has any question or addition one wants to make, please come forward. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaji. Thank you for this nice elaborated class. Yeah, if anyone is having any question regarding today's class, they can raise their hand and ask His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Govind Maharaj. Yes, for respect Maharaji, please.
Dandavat Pranam Maharaji.
Dandavat, all glories to Srila Sripad.
All glories to your holiness.
Please add
Wonderful,
something.
Wonderful class.
Bhagavatam is wonderful. What can we do?
Prahlad Maharaj, he got instruction from Narada Muni when he is in the womb.
Yes.
And in this shloka, we see because of his consciousness, he sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, sometimes sang loudly.
Yes.
So, but we all have got direct association. In the womb,
Yes.
Prahlad Maharaj got association when he is in the womb, but not as direct as we got. When we are fully conscious, our senses, mind, and discretion is fully developed, and But still, this what is described here of Prahlad Maharaj seems to be very, very far, a distinct dream what Prahlad Maharaj is experiencing. So here, how is it possible? I mean,
Well,
how is he is so Krishna conscious, just hearing from the womb.
he's only Krishna conscious. Yeah, so duality does not exist for Prahlad Maharaj. That's why he's truly Ajata Shatru, means although he has so many enemies because of demonic father and all his associates, but he doesn't see anybody as his enemy. That's fearlessness, correct? So that is the potency of, so that is the ideal demonstration of one who has taken absolute shelter of Krishna and being blessed by the spiritual master Narad Muni, as you describe in the womb. So this is the potency of the effect of a pure devotee. But if someone does not take advantage of it, it's not that everybody Narad Muni met became a pure devotee. No, one has to take shelter. One has to surrender. How many devatas they meet Narad Muni? Demons also meet Narad Muni. But Prahlad Maharaj and a few others, Dhruva Maharaj and others. So it demonstrates that that is the potential, that is the possibility, that is the potency of, this is how much blessing we can, we have underperformed in receiving the full blessing of the pure devotee. That's the point you are hinting, Maharaj. It's very wonderful. So it's a lot of soul searching part of most of us. Most of it means, at least myself, I can definitely show. But there is a beautiful in Bhagavatam to this effect, the conditioning of the living entity, our conditioning, how rampant. The effect of Krishna connection is very, very amazing. Tashyara vinda nayanasya padar vinde Kinjal kamishra tulsi makaranda vayu Antargata swavivarena chakar tesham Sankhobham akshara jusham api chitta tanvo. The Chatur Kumara, see the effect of the fragrance of tulsi and the keshav, Kinjal kamishra tulsi makaranda vayu. When Lord Krishna has the tulsi and the whatever you call it, saffron, or offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, when the wind blew from there and it entered the nostrils of the Chatur Kumara, Antargata swavivarena chakara tesham. Chakara means caused tesham, chakara tesham. Sankhobham akshara jusham. Akshara jusham is they were totally absorbed in the impersonal concept of God. Their absorption. So it is described that even the absorption in the impersonal is not the ultimate thing. It is not transcendental. If it were transcendental, they would not be disturbed. Sankhobham akshara jusham. Api chitta tanvo. Chitta means the absorption or the attachment to the impersonal concept was chitta deep. But the chitta, something which is so, one is so attached to someone, obsession or infatuation for something, to take him away from out of that obsession, infatuation is very, very difficult. But the potency of the connection of the lotus feet of the Lord and the tulsi fragrance is so powerful that they caused them. But when I think of my position, my position is I'm Ksharajusham. I'm just attached to so many worldly things. And even after hearing these wonderful pastimes, the potency of the Lord, potency of taking complete shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, is that it will free you from any attachment whatsoever. This is the potential. But what is causing me that I'm not able to get the full potential benefit from it? Sharajusham, attachment to this worldly affairs and temporary things is still so strong. So what is that this making us not realize the full potency? So that is a very wonderful question. It is the question of the year, actually, we can say, and it applies to most of us. So a lot of soul searching, and we must figure out what is blocking me. So if we contemplate what things we have allowed in our contemplation, what is our aspiration, how our chitta, in our consciousness, what is our aspiration? Our aspiration has to be ekantik. Ekantik means only thinking of the pleasure and satisfaction and the service of Krishna and Sri Guru. If that becomes exclusive, and then we will definitely experience. That's why Bhagavatam describes this. If it happens in Prahlad Maharaj, it is supposed to happen. It can happen in everybody's life. So what is stopping us? We can find that it is our self creation. It's our own self deprivation. No one else is responsible for it except oneself. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very nice.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Yeah, we have 2 more questions in line. So, yeah, Balramji, please.
Yes, Balramji has to be there.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dandavata Pranam. Very
Hare Krishna,
nice
Hare
class
Krishna.
and nice question by Maharaj.
Definitely.
I have just one comment and one question. This comment on this Maharaj question, very nice, as you said, a wonderful question. And you all already explained. I just like to add one sentence.
Yes.
This is because, I mean, when we say we learn something, if somebody has learned in a different way, he needs more time to again learn the correct way. So this means if Prahlad Maharaj would not have been listening this inside the womb, then the material contamination that will change everything, like that's happening in most of us. Yeah, but I mean, this is quite wonderful that he listened it from Narad Muni, and before the contamination affects. Yeah. So,
but one thing, yes, very, very nice observation. We appreciate this observation. Narad Muni stands out in, or Prahlad Maharaj stands out in many ways, but everybody can stand out. Every one of us can also stand out. It is not limited to Prahlad Maharaj. That's the beauty of this path of pure devotion service. Lord Krishna says, Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvata. Out of many, someone, only someone. So that's why Prahlad Maharaj is that special someone. But it is not limited there. Krishna says, kaschin mam vetti. Each one of us can become that kaschin mam vetti tattvata. We are all eligible as a human being. This is the human potential. We are all eligible to attain that transcendental status, to attain that ecstatic experience. Our total dependence on Krishna. Then in jungle mein bhi phir mangal sambhav hai. Because ultimately, when we find our attachment to Krishna, who is attached to Krishna? The consciousness. It's not this body. How can body be attached to Krishna? Body is dead matter, but our consciousness, which is the property of the soul. The soul also has eternal body. So the eternal body must be aspired. But going back to your question or observation, one thing very beautiful. This is Krishna's very special mercy, that no matter how deep, how strong the infatuation we may have on the wrong end, correct? Because it is matter, it is disturbable. It does not last forever. Correct? Yes. Whereas the obsession for Krishna consciousness is everlasting. So we always have hope. No matter how bad conditioning one may have, the essence of Bhagavatam, this Bhagavad Dharma, that shloka in 10, 20, 26, Tato dusangam utsijya. You are describing about the wrong conditioning, Dusang utsijya satsu sajjeta buddhiman. If one identifies a pure devotee, that's why I give this example many times. If one meets a Narad Muni, one will say, oh, I will just follow him to the point. Then all his wrong conditioning will go away, correct? If Narad Muni comes across someone, and if he has studied Bhagavatam and associated with devotees, he will, oh, Narad Muni, he's next to God, so I can see Krishna. So that conviction one must have in the spiritual master. So tato dusangam utsya satsu sajjeta buddhiman santah evasya chindyanti mano vyasanga muktibi. The very strong excessive attachment of the mind, a saintly person, a pure devotee, will cut off by his powerful instructions. But when one becomes attached to such a saintly person, then he will not give up his association. Rather, it will cause a very fast total transformation, purification. However bad the conditioning, if one becomes attached to a pure devotee, he will not leave him. And what he will do? He will become purified. Leaving means going back to his conditioned life. However difficult it is to decondition oneself, but if one becomes attached to a pure devotee, he will end up becoming a pure devotee himself also. Hare Krishna. So yes, the hope, no situation is hopeless due to this path of pure devotional service.
Yes, Maharaj, that's correct.
We have
I have
pure for everyone.
I have one question. So this is regarding the your discussion on the person. The soul is God is a person, and soul is also a person. Yeah.
Yes.
So this you say, I mean, this is a little bit not clearly realized, because when we say we are persons, or God is a person, then we refer to the spiritual person. Yeah. So, but I mean, when we think about a person, we think we have this the body. That's why
yes.
But this bodily concept is not actually the person that we are referring to.
Yes, but so, this body, I got it. But body becomes the means, because body has also antakaran, mana buddhi chitta ahankar. And in the contemplation, we contemplate about our eternal body. So when a sadhaka becomes initiated, then Krishna accepts him to come on his level. And as he engages in the process of pure devotional service, his identification becomes in one of the bhavas, this Prahlad Maharaj, of course, in Dasya Bhava, somebody Sakhya Bhava, Vatsalya, and in Madhur Bhava, is a Gopi or Manjari. So the whole idea is this abhimana, this pride develops inside. Thinking, just think of that if you have bhava, according to your bhava, you consider yourself as an associate of the Lord. Because it is in relation with the Lord, although you have not experienced directly, but that becomes, to attain that position, to attain that associateness, to become the associate of the Lord, that becomes your exclusive aspiration. It's very powerful. And it will reflect in your thoughts, in your actions, in your speech, because your inner pride is developing. Because when we say that Jive Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das, correct? So this is Tattva Gyan. Always we just repeat it many times. So if I'm Nitya Das, so who is the Nitya Das? Is Anitya body or Nitya body? It's a Nitya body. If Krishna is Nitya body, correct? And if I am his eternal Nitya Das, then I also have Nitya body. You know. So Nitya, the body which is suitable for eternal seva. What is that? So according to the bhava, whichever bhava one may be, then we will aspire. So this inner contemplation, this manan, that is raga. That's why bhava stage means raga stage. In that raga stage, one of the sentiments in relation to the Lord becomes so prominent that one becomes absorbed in that sambandha, in that connection. You know. So our eternal body, which is suitable, which is conducive to eternal seva of Krishna. This is the symptom.
Maharaj, just I want to add one another question here. So this when we say person, we have not seen that person. Then how do we think of the body of the?
Yes, this is another question of the year. I think this year has two very beautiful questions. Yes. So as we in sadhana bhakti, we are given this process, correct? And we are eternal associate of Krishna. Now, what happens that when one becomes, it is revealed, it's a revelation in the heart. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. When we take unconditional shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, you know, then lotus feet of the spiritual master, honoring him as most worshipable and is most dear also. Then what happens is it is Krishna's very Krishna reveals in the heart of a pure devotee that everything. That's why meditate on this song which Guru Maharaj sings about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Nija Siddha Deha, Nija Siddha Nama, Nija Rupa, Swavasana. So all these things will be revealed. But our attachment is in one of the sentiments, correct? Dasya, Sakhya, of course, in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has exposed our fortune to attain the maid servant bhava of Srimati Radharani, you know, in that Anugatya. And that's why all the stalwart acharyas, you know, Prabhupadas and Sripadas, they have in their inner bhajan, in their inner contemplation. So the process starts at the time of initiation. At the time of initiation, externally we do bhajan, but internally we aspire to attain that Manjari Rupa. If you also develop the liking for that, you know. Because our path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking shelter of attaining the shelter of Srimati Radharani. Why? Because Krishna fully belongs to her. So why bother Krishna when he has been captured by someone? You know, Krishna is not in the market for. So one who is so that is the supreme Saubhagya of Srimati Radharani, because Krishna is fully captured by her. And so we take shelter of one who is most blessed. Make sense?
Yes, Maharaj. Very nice. Thank you very much.
All right.
Maharaji, we have one more question by Srikant Prabhuji.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's
Srikant
most
Prabhuji.
welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Actually, this is not a question, but if His Holiness permits and our host permits, then I may add little bit to
Please,
the
please,
answer
please.
given by Your Holiness
That is
for the question raised by His Holiness Brahspati Maharaj. Actually, so so actually, for Your Holiness remembers, I asked one time your question that is Prahlad Maharaj ji Baddhamukta Atma or Nitya Atma? So, and Maharaj ji replied very nicely. However, Maharaj ji also said that Maharaj ji does not have much vision on that. So then I did some research, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ji is writing that in the shloka of shloka 7.4.36 that let it open please.
7.4.36.
गुणैर अलम असंख्यैर महात्मयम तस्य सूच्यते वासुदेव भगवती यस्य नैसर्गिकी रति. So this नैसर्गिकी रति is translated as natural attraction. So our Krishna Chakravarti Thakur is writing that his attraction did not develop by sadhana over many births, as is the case with others. It is mentioned in this verse that he had a natural attraction for Vasudeva. His attraction did not develop by sadhana over many births, as is the case with others. So it is not sadhana developed bhakti.
That's a beautiful point.
Saying when Mata Krishna kidnapped by Indra, so Naraji is telling him that I am Nishkilbisham Sakshan Mahabhagavata Mahan, that the child with woman's womb is faultless and sinless. Indeed, he is a great devotee, a powerful servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Which means he is, even before receiving the message from Narad Muni, when he was in the womb of Mata Kayadu, Narad Muniji declared that he is already a Mahabhagavat. So
Yeah.
all these things reveal that Prahlad Maharaj ji is Nitya. Also in the purport by Srila Prabhupada ji passed some shlokas in this chapter only. Prabhupada ji said that Prabhupada ji is writing that Prahlad Maharaj ji eternally resides in Vaikuntha Loka, but when he descends, he resides here in Suta Loka. So he is a Nitya Mukta Atma, so therefore he's getting all these ecstatic symptoms is eternally there. It's not the cause is that it's eternal. Then someone may ask, then why does he have to come here, and what is the need of his taking shelter of Guru Maharaj? Then the answer is actually it is need. It is when this is achieved, Krishna Prema is achieved, then the greed for Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva is, then it kicks in, and then only the real Guru Seva starts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. That's a beautiful point. Nonetheless, when all these liberated personalities, eternal associates of the Lord, when they come to this world, in the worldly platform, they demonstrate symptoms. They demonstrate that they also, when they go through hardships, how they should take, how one should take shelter of Krishna. Like our Shad Goswamis, they are eternal associates, correct? And still they acted on just for our benefit. That how we should cry for Krishna, how we should attain that. They are hankering. They are eternal associates of the Lord, but they are demonstrating for our benefit. Even this Prem Bhakti Chandrika is the eternal Manjari of Radharani. What is that? What is his name? Narottam Das Thakur's Manjari Rupa. Lokanath Goswami is Manjulali and Narottam Das Thakur is, and I always keep forgetting his name. But they are demonstrating and emotions and crying out just so that we can also imbibe their mood. They are acting to benefit the sadhakas, because on this world platform, if these eternal associates come and demonstrate something, and if it is not, why would they demonstrate if it is not for us to take, if the conditioned soul cannot take it? So even when they are liberated personalities, Nitya Siddha, they come to benefit, and they demonstrate in such a way that a conditioned soul, if he is subjected to the situations which they subjected themselves, then it becomes a tremendous inspiration for the conditioned soul. And ultimately, it boils down to, when we cultivate this association of pure devotees, or those who are fully surrendered, pure devotees, then we also develop that confidence, which is demonstrated by all these Nitya Siddha Parashadas like Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruv Maharaj and others. The fortune which they have acquired, they are blessed with, it is not limited to them. If it was just meant for them, then what was the purpose of their coming in our life? What is the purpose of studying Bhagavatam? If what they are trying to, the instructions they are trying to impart, like Prahlad Maharaj's instructions, correct? How to become pure devotee, not to expect something in return for doing pure devotional service. So all these things, they act perfectly on this world platform to pull us up. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Maharaj, little addition possible?
Yes.
Dhanavad Pranam.
Of
Thank
course.
you, Srikant Prabhuji, for doing little research. Yes, I do believe that Prahlad Maharaj is the eternal associate of Narsimhadev, but scriptural reference not found anything. So therefore, we could not comment exactly what is answer, but our Acharya's commentary will help. But as for the natural attraction, don't we all have natural attraction for Krishna? We all have natural attraction that need to be revived. And if you see the 42nd sloka, Sa uttama sloka padara vindayor nisheva yankinchina sanga labdhaya.
Yes.
Because of his labdhaya is benefit of associating with the unalloyed devotees. We have nothing to do with the material activities.
Beautiful.
He is able to constantly, he is able to engage himself constantly in the service of the Lord. So though the natural attraction is there, the constant engagement is possible by the association of the pure devotee. Means
Yes.
in one sense, we also have natural attraction, because people in general, they are religious, they like to obey God, worship God, tend to believe that God is there. But this constant engagement is possible only by the association of Uttama Sloka Padara Vindayor.
Yes.
And when the pure devotees come here, they take our path also. They traverse our path. If you see Srila Prabhupada, he appears to be not interested to meet Bhaktivedanta as the Thakur. He is more interested in nationalism, as do many. Similarly, Srila Sripad appear to be not interested to meet Prabhupada. But when the meeting happened, it completely changed. So that means this lila is enacted for our benefit, that if we approach Uttama Sloka Padara Vindayor, the pure devotees with proper spirit, the result will be same.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, these are all Nitya Siddhas, we can say. But they traverse our path so that what is possible for us.
Yes,
Provided
it can be possible.
if we make proper use of it, or if you are with right, if we approach with right spirit, right mood, and so, but somehow we end up somehow spoil the great chance. So these are one sense we can say, oh, Prabhupada is pure devotee, so he could do it. Sripad is pure devotee, he could do it.
Only,
but they take our path, they traverse our path to show that Prabhupada at the age of 70 is going, not when he is like in our age. 70 is unimaginable. Not by flight, by a ship. Okay, Maharaj, sorry to stop you. Please
I want to add one comment. Few years ago, I was in London. I visited a London manor, and there was not elderly, but he may have met Prabhupada or something. He just came to us and said, "Oh, Swami, I want to tell you one thing." I said, "You want to tell me? I'm just visiting here, something. I want to tell you something. Nobody's like Prabhupada." I said, "Well, nobody's like you also." You see, he was telling that nobody's like Prabhupada. So then I told him, what you want to say, but does that also include you? You are discounting everybody, that nobody is like Prabhupada, but does that include you also? If nobody is like Prabhupada, why don't you try to become one? Because you are not trying to become, as pure or whatever, So on what criteria he's pointing that nobody is like Prabhupada, that he's just taking the excuse not to change himself. So ultimately, the point which we are trying to discuss, that the fully surrendered souls, they are fully surrendered souls in those who took shelter of Prabhupada. And, someone will see Prabhupada in them. Prabhupada is not limited to a person. Prabhupada is a life parampara. And so those who fully sacrifice their life, then they are honored by their followers as their Prabhupada. So it's a fully surrendered spirit. Prabhupada, one who is fully surrendered at the lotus feet of the Lord. And so that way, one cannot isolate oneself, only Prabhupada, only Sripad, because they are pure devotees, they are Nitya Siddha. And Prabhu, I am not Nitya Siddha, so I don't expect high standard from me. It is not like that. As Maharaj said, that they traverse our path. They acted just like us, as if, but when the association was connected, they become fully surrendered like that. So that's a great point. This Bhagavatam and all these episodes, Prahlad Maharaj, and these are not just very nice story, very here and to sleep. No, how Prahlad Maharaj comes in our life, how Prabhupada, Sripad comes in our life, how much do we keep the distance from them? Okay, you are at high, we will just do worship to you and just enough. No, we have to come. Bhakti means seva. Seva means closeness and attachment. if we think of the definition of bhakti, the concept of bhaj means seva, and seva requires closeness, and closeness brings attachment. So if you become attached to a Mahatma, pure devotees, then it will cause ourselves to become pure devotee. And when we will become fully absorbed and fully dedicated karmana mansa vacha, then people will talk about us. People will talk about us. We don't have time to talk about others. But as long as we are not fully surrendered to that level, then we will just make judgment on others and worship some Prabhupada or some Sripad. Oh, he was a pure devotee, nobody is like him. And so I am spared now because I don't have to surrender because nobody is like Prabhupada or Sripad. So this is how the conditioned soul feels. The whole generation, new generation, for the new generation, the Prabhupada and Sripad is available. They have to search out for it. And Krishna will reveal. So the answer to Balram Prabhu's question is a revelation in the heart. I can speak for myself. It's a thrill when somebody described the glory of Sripad. I never met Guru Maharaj. I didn't know how he looks like or anything. But he simply described this. That, he's a scientist. He's from Manipur. And he was very dear to Srila Prabhupada. The moment he said, like a shivering entered my house, and I spontaneously said, then I want to serve him who endeared himself to Srila Prabhupada so much. So the whole idea is there is some indication. It is not that I give the example of our Dr. P.B. Sharma also. P.B. Sharma, he told Guru Maharaj, Swamiji, in 70s I was in London, I should have also surrendered. And Guru Maharaj smiled. Guru Maharaj smiled. And then why you didn't surrender? What is stopping him? And when Guru Maharaj left, then he's telling one of his associates, oh, I should have surrendered to Swamiji. Then he missed out on that. But now who is stopping him to surrender? Because only when you miss out, you think, oh, nobody's like Prabhupada. And when Guru Maharaj left, oh, no, I should have surrendered to Swamiji because nobody's like Swamiji. But you have to search out, surrender. You have to find who is fully surrendered to Swamiji and make him your Swamiji. That's parampara. Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for this nice and wonderful discussion. Yeah, maybe we can conclude for the day.
okay. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo vaishnavebhyo namo vaishnavebhyo namo.
His Holiness Bhakti Govind Maharaj ki jai.
Namavet Nitai Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande.
See you all in tomorrow's class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.